Ridiculous questions.
Meticulously debated.
This is Tell Me I'm Wrong.
Well, I was happy just last night. I've been losing sight, sighting all the falling fights. What is this if this ain't right? Back again to muster rights, losing life until that night. Life never let him lie. Light is mine, my past is right.
Hello, everybody, and welcome to Tell Me I'm Wrong. I'm going to be your moderator today, Josh Ballard.
I'll be debating, and my name is Ryan.
That was awfully fancy.
I'm feeling a little fancy.
Hello, it's Joe,
That's aggressive.
and I'll be talking too.
Joe's not feeling fancy.
Okay, well, everybody, it appears, showed up in character for this episode, but I did not. I just came with the normal Josh character, but that's okay. We all are just trying to live our lives and be who we want to be, and that's all right by me.
Just trying to make it different.
Can we veto this character?
Yeah, I don't like it. In the meantime, we've got a great topic this week because I had a very interesting Valentine's Day, I must say.
Oh, did you? I don't know if we want to share those details on this podcast.
It wasn't what you're thinking.
We got a little bit sexy last week. We can't do too many sexy things.
I'm bringing sexy back. Ow!
Man, this Joe's bringing some energy in this episode.
The energy Joe has is just is truly
it was a
immaculate.
good weekend, if you know what I mean.
Oh Lord!
Wow.
Well, I'm pretty certain I had the most interesting Valentine's Day weekend of anybody here.
Are you?
By a mile? Pretty certain. It would be hard to compete with what I've got.
Well, what if I told you that I'm going to be a father?
What?
Good luck trumping that. Good luck, because that's the best thing ever. So
Don't you have to have a wife to have a baby?
Leah exists, and we are going to have a kid.
Is this serious?
This is serious.
Ryan, that is very exciting
Congratulations,
news.
Thanks.
all right, you heard that. Tell Me I'm Wrong world. We have
Tell
a
me I'm
new,
wrong announcement.
new future podcaster. And
Now, I have a very
lots of
important
years.
question.
Okay.
Now, we did our sexiest board game episode last week. Is that how this ended up happening?
So, Josh, let me reference you back to our very first episode, and that is to explain how sex works and the timeline of conception.
Yeah. So, sexiest board game made it happen, right?
Nope.
You would think that when Bill Ballard, shout out, would have done the put the raincoat on the soldier talk, he would have not only told you about how not to have a baby, but also how it works to have a baby.
Also, where the babies come from.
The whole concept was if you put a raincoat on a soldier, it wouldn't happen. So we just never got really past that.
Oh, all right. Well, maybe talk to Erica about that. She's a doctor, so she's smart and she can explain things.
Well, anyways, that is very exciting. And that is definitely more exciting than what I did.
Ryan, and all joking aside, very, very awesome. Do you know if you're having a boy or girl?
We are having a little girl.
Well, congratulations.
Coming in August.
That's the best thing. Being a girl dad is awesome.
I am irrelevant now, not being a dad. So
We got 2/3 of the podcast are going to be dads now.
I guess
You can just-
I guess
you
I'm
can
going to
just
be
be-
cast away.
You can just be our Peloton dad.
Okay, I'll take that. I was going to say, I'm afraid y'all are going to kick me off and bring Perry on and make a dad's podcast or something.
Oh man, ooh, that does sound. That sounds a little bit appealing.
Hey, if we could do that, and we'd have to call it "I'm Always Wrong," especially if you have a little girl. Because let me tell you, they are tough, and you no matter what you do, you wrong. And we all have girls, so Josh, you are now the odd man out. Goodbye.
I have no children.
I would say, is your Peloton a girl?
That's a good question. I should probably ask.
Listen. I want to stop. I don't want to talk about how you birth a Peloton and make it yours. So let's just and let Ryan enjoy this wonderful moment and say congratulations and move on to talking about ridiculous things.
All right. So Josh, before I interrupted with my news, Josh said that he had a really interesting Valentine's. Obviously not as good as mine, but let's hear what he's got.
Clearly you had a much more exciting one because I spent mine, watching wrestling like I did say we were going to do last week. We did do that. But I also finally gave in because Erica had been begging me for so long to watch the just absolutely acclaimed films known as the Twilight series.
Ugh.
Now, I'll cite back, I don't know how many episodes it was. I am a Kristen Stewart fan, and I also think Robert Pattinson is good. Now, these movies are not great. They twinkle in the sunlight, and the amount of teen angst makes Dawson's Creek look like a kindergarten cop. But
were those teens angsty? I felt like they were emotional.
Oh, there was angst. And I've never seen Dawson's Creek. I was just trying to think of a teen show.
You've never seen Dawson's
was
Creek?
Also angsty. No, I never got into Dawson's Creek, man. Never got.
I actually
into it.
didn't either. I
James
watched some of
Vanderbeek.
it,
We talked about most punchable song. I feel like James Vanderbeek has the most punchable face.
Oh, disagree. I love me some Vanderbeek.
I'll say Joe missed out on Dawson's Creek. Joe was more of an iCarly guy.
That was way after my time.
You say that, but I saw the DVDs on your shelf.
Oh,
Well,
yeah.
the only experience
You're right.
I have with Twilight, I went to a drive-in when I was a camp counselor one year, and we went.
You didn't make
because-
out at a drive-in, did you?
No. This was.
Did you make out during the Twilight movies, Ryan?
No, not at all.
Can you?
No.
Okay, I have a very important question because this keeps coming up. Do you always have to pay $10 to make out with somebody? Is that like your thing?
And by this keeps coming up, you mean you guys keep making up the fact that
You did just tell us you had a child. Where did this happen at? Was it at Regal movie theaters? Because I'm a little uncomfortable
during a
now.
pandemic. That's where it happened.
You can rent out the whole theater right now, so
Well, anyway, so we went with almost the entire camp because we all wanted to see Inception. And it was the same year that one of maybe the second Twilight movie came out. Well, luckily they played Inception first. And so it was a drive-in. So we watched that one. And then the second movie was the Twilight movie. So there was like 3 girls that wanted to stay up and watch the Twilight movie. Everybody else, because we were at camp, we all fell asleep in the van. And so literally everybody slept through Twilight except for the people that really wanted to watch it. But
that sounds like a nice
evening.
evening out. But I'd have to imagine Inception was really confusing when you missed most of the movie because you were making out.
Also, I feel like Inception is not a good movie for a double feature because it's so long.
Also, it's not a good movie for the drive-in because it is complex. And if you miss something, like when you're listening to the van speaker, and it is hard to follow.
When the earth is rising into a curve, I don't feel like you want to be 50 feet from your screen while it's happening, no matter how big your screen is.
Yeah, not the ideal viewing experience, but it was summer camp, so.
So is it something about the taste of movie theater butter that does it for you?
Moving
or
on.
Is it something? Okay.
Josh, you really,
Well, anyways.
you really get stuck on this.
I'm concerned about Ryan. It seems like a very
think
expensive
you're
way to
very
make out.
interested in him making out in the movie theater. Like, it's really weird. Next time, Ryan, you're going to go to a theater and Josh is going to be like, oh my gosh, you're here? Me too. What are you seeing? Oh, same as me. But I'll sit in the way in the back and just hang out.
I mean, that's the only reason I went along with you all when you saw the Avengers. So
That's fine.
anyway,
Did you think I was going to make out with Joe?
Apparently, Ryan, he's really got a thing for watching you make out. Apparently, that's what I'm getting.
It was just us 3.
It's on his mind constantly, and he's very excited. Is that why you didn't come watch Star Wars and me and Matt?
Yeah, because I wasn't there. He didn't think he had an opportunity to see somebody making out.
I needed Ryan to be there. So anyways,
No, I think we should hang on this.
Yeah, I think Josh has a fetish for me at movie theaters.
Because the thing is, you're the only one who brings this up.
Yeah. So let's turn this around. And
Ryan never brings it
No.
up, and I don't ever bring it up. So it's just you. So this is, and you've brought this up multiple times. So this is something that's on your mind pretty regularly.
no, Ryan continues to mention on this podcast how he goes to movie theaters and makes out with people.
I did not.
I think he's mentioned that one time.
I've mentioned it never.
It was like episode 6. Episode 6, Ryan mentions in explicit detail how he goes to movies and makes out.
So 34 episodes ago.
So 34 episodes, roughly almost 2/3 of a year.
Almost 10 months.
But you're still hung up on this.
I'm not hung up on it. Look, I was trying to introduce our topic for today by talking about the Twilight films, and Ryan had to kiss and tell. This is not my fault. I don't know why you all are attacking
I don't
me.
think we can go to movies anymore together. Even if we don't invite Josh, he'll just show up.
Yeah.
Like, you may want to turn the Find My iPhone thing off because he's probably GPS tracking you to see if you're going to the theaters to make out.
The amount of time that Josh spends on Find My Friends waiting for me to show up at AMC is it's just not healthy.
Josh, I'm not gonna lie, it's a little uncomfortable how many times you brought this up now. Like, this is the wrongest Lenny joke on the show only because of you.
Okay, we will move on, but this is all Ryan's fault. So anyway,
until you bring it up next week.
I won't bring it up next week. Ryan's the one that keeps bringing it up. So anyways, I was watching the Twilight films with my girlfriend, who I love very much, and they were absolutely awful. But it got me thinking about a topic that I thought would be good for the show, because back in the day, if you remember, we were in like high school, college, everybody had to pick a side. It was a rule. When we were in elementary school, it was NSYNC or Backstreet Boys. As we got older, it morphed into Team Edward or Team Jacob. And so I thought, what better way to celebrate my viewing of the Twilight films than to ask these two gentlemen to put together an elite squad of people who could comprise a Team Edward and a Team Jacob so that I can pick the ultimate winner.
Now, listeners, we need to be very explicitly clear before we get into this debate. We decided that for this episode, we would have no rules. There is
not a single one.
There's not a boundary. It can be, this is fictional or real. There is not any set competition that they are competing against. We are just making two teams, Team Edward and Team Jacob, and winner take all. And that's it. Those are the only rules.
Just like Ryan at a movie theater, there are no boundaries. And so they could do whatever they want.
I do have a question, Josh. When you all finish the Twilight series, are you going to make us do a podcast about the 50 Shades of Grey series? Because I'm not into that.
Well, we haven't progressed to that series as of yet, and I don't foresee that in the future. But if
I'm
that
just trying to think
changes,
of other smutty romance novels they turned into movies, and it's like,
now, the next thing that Josh is going to make us do is going to be like Peloton fan fiction, where people like make love to their Pelotons or something.
well, they probably take it to movie theaters to make out.
Yeah.
I don't need you all to do that. I do that on my free time. So
It has Hulkalo in it, and he's on a Peloton. It's weird.
Oh man, Hulkalo on a Peloton, that is some advertising right there. They need to tap in. Wait, can we get sponsored by Peloton? Because we mentioned them a lot now.
No one is going to sponsor us because they're going to listen to how many times Josh talks about you going to a movie theater and making out and be like, this is a problem in the future.
It's all Josh's fault.
keep blaming me all you want.
We will.
So I assigned Ryan to Team Jacob, and I gave Joe Team Edward. And so what I asked them to do is I asked them to pick 4 representatives for each of their teams who are named Jacob or Edward in some form or fashion. And I asked them to put together a team. Now, how am I going to make up my mind? That's a great question. We don't know. And that's the beauty of this. It is entirely subjective.
Listen, I feel like this show is really founded on instinct and just going with your gut, because even when we have rules, they're not really rules. So I feel like this episode is really going to encapsulate the whole point of this show, which is ridiculousness, and then we pick a winner.
I think rules are just a suggestion in our debates. We kind of just go.
Yeah, we've never really been terribly faithful to the rules, and so this debate perfectly encapsulates that. So I'm going to be rating these teams on a number of criteria that I will develop as we play this game and do this exercise.
A number of criteria that will literally just be pulled out of the thin air as we mention names that Josh has no idea about because he didn't look in our notes either.
I did not. So this is going to be entirely a surprise to me. And at the end, I'm going to provide a very in-depth analysis on why I think either team would win. So to get things kicked off, I'd like you to just kind of give me, a little bit of background on your thought process when you're putting together your team. So, Ryan, why don't you tell me a little bit about what really were the nitty gritty details of you developing this incredible team of Jacobs.
Okay, I need to start by issuing a call to action to all Jacobs. And that is because there have not been enough significant Jacobs throughout history. I searched every form of the name Jacob, and don't get me wrong, there are some that exist that have made some impact in the world.
I mean, it's biblical.
Exactly. And I'm going to get there. But I just needed to start out by saying, if your name is Jacob and you listen to this show, please go do something amazing, because you need to represent for your name.
Just figure it out and go do it.
Just figure something out. It doesn't not matter what it is, and go do something. Make an impact. Leave your fingerprints on the world. Okay. Now, the name Jacob. It originally appears in the Bible as the son of Isaac. He is the younger twin to Esau, and the name means to follow or to be behind. And that is because when he was born, he was grabbing the ankle of Esau.
Preach!
Later became known as Israel. And the name Jacob hit peak popularity in the United States in 1998.
That tracks because... And maybe this is why there's not very many famous Jacobs, because we are the lousiest generation. We just didn't do anything.
We are the Jacob generation. I feel like I know lots of Jacobs, and all of them are bums, except for maybe one.
That's mean to all the Jacobs. You should be inspiring them. You shouldn't be tearing them down.
I tried to inspire them, but it's time. Somebody needs to step up.
That's
Team
fair.
Jacob, step up. Okay. So as I was looking, there are a few that I want to mention that didn't make my final list. So one, Jake Tapper. I feel like we need to talk about Jake Tapper because he's been important in the last year because of all the screen time and just the hot takes. I feel like he's really gained in popularity.
But he just didn't do enough to make the team.
I didn't feel like I felt like he was a little too biased to be able to make the final team. I want the people who are fair and really gonna give it to me straight.
Yeah, of course.
There's another one I want to mention, and that is Jacob Ballard.
A long lost brother, perhaps.
Long lost brother and Giants tight end.
See, this is something that I like because this fella used to play at Iowa because I always enjoyed watching Saturday college football and seeing that I had 4 receptions for 12 yards.
Listen, he came up and I was like, you know what? I feel like I need to
4
mention
receptions for 12 yards. Hell of a game.
Listen, that's better than I could do.
There's also Jacob, but it's spelled Jakob, Sumner, which is Sting's son. And then the only other one that I wanted to mention before I get to my final list is Jake LaMotta, which is the boxer that the movie Raging Bull is based on.
Why didn't he make the team? I feel like having a fighter would be useful in whatever the scenario is that we've drafted.
Robert De Niro played him, and he was like, he's like well known as like one of his best roles, you know, and you know, he's apparently a good boxer. I haven't seen the movie, but I just felt like I went a little bit of a different, like maybe more of a esoteric direction with my list, less straightforward.
Okay.
So as I was going through, I really wanted to just kind of, I kind of went an odd direction, and we'll see how it shakes out. But that was my original thinking about the name Jacob, and maybe we can go to Edward, and then I can start introducing my list.
I like where you started. That's a very good place to start from. It's biblical, got a lot of history. I like that. As we know, Edward, not biblical. We don't know any Edwards in the Bible. That'd be weird. It's like
that would be
Jesus walked up to Ed and performed a miracle. Like it just wouldn't fit in. So it wasn't going to happen. So, Joe, why don't you kind of give us a background on how you drafted your team, Edward?
No, you're right. Edward is not in the Bible. It is an English given name drafted from the Anglo-Saxon form Eadward.
Eadward.
Eadweard.
That's way better.
Which is components, the elements EAD, which is wealth, fortune, and prosperous, and weird, guardian or protector. So I'm rich fighters. I'm Batman.
I feel like there's been a lot of Prince Edwards.
There's a lot of those. They're all English. Yeah. Edward I of England, Edward the Confessor.
Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
And Joe really has a lot of options here because it really runs the gamut from like Prince's all the way down to like Ed, and Eddie. And so you've really got a nice range here.
That was kind of my problem, is there is a lot of famous Edwards out there. As Ryan did, let me rattle off a few that I didn't choose. And they range from a lot of different categories. Let's start with actors and or people in cinema. Ed Harris, Ed Norton, Ed Helms, Eddie Murphy, Edward James Olmos, Ed O'Neill.
Eddie Murphy didn't make your list?
Yeah.
How does Eddie Murphy not make your list?
Oh, he did. Never mind. He did. Scratch Eddie Murphy.
All right. So number one.
So just think maybe, Josh, cut this out.
No, I love it. You got to keep it.
Hold on to that one. Edward James Olmos, Ed O'Neill, Ed Marinareaux, which is not a sauce. That's actually the coach in Blue Mountain State, which I love that TV show. And I didn't have no idea his name was Ed Marinaro. He's never been mentioned on anything else. So I give him some love here.
I love Marinareaux sauce.
Ed Burns. He's great. He's done a lot of great TV show. Then we can go to music. Ed Sheeran, Eddie Vedder from Pearl Jam. Both great.
Well, okay, hold on. Let's not lump Ed Sheeran. I'm no Pearl Jam fan, but we can't be lumping Ed Sheeran and Eddie Vedder together.
Well, I just meant they're really good musicians. I didn't say their music was the same. I do think Ed Sheeran is a popular musician. And I think Pearl Jam was very popular. And when people think of Pearl Jam, they think of Eddie Vedder.
That's some very intricate musical analysis. I appreciate it.
We always get intricate musical analysis from Joe.
Well, I'm by far the most cultured person on this podcast.
That's right.
Not wrong.
If Josh can say it, I can say it. He makes stuff up all the time. And then you have some like some just unique people. Edward Scissorhands. Edward
How does
Snowden.
he not make the team?
He definitely would have made my final list.
You could have had someone who has scissors for hands.
Listen.
And a hacker.
Listen, I'm good with my team. I like my team. But the thing is, if he's on your team, you have to trust is he going to do what he says? Is he going to stick by me? Or is he going to double cross me? Then you have Ed McMahon, the guy from the Publishers Clearinghouse, the big checks.
Yeah.
I almost put him on my team because he always wore those awesome cummerbunds.
And I feel like the guy that has access to the Publishers Clearinghouse stockpile of money is probably a good person to have on your team, because I'd imagine in whatever scenario it is we have cooked up, money could be useful.
I don't think money is going to be a problem for me. And then some famous athletes. You had Ed Reed, which I really toyed with him for a long time. Eddie George.
He's got a powerful beard.
Yeah, and then Eddie George was on there. So I had a lot of really good people that I had to say no to, unfortunately. And I even texted the guys at one point, and I was like, how many did we say we were going to do? Because I was hoping it'd be like 6 or 7, because there's so many good Eds out there. But I like my team. I think we're going to be formidable against anybody. We're going to kick Jacob's ass.
Now, I never said this was a fight, but
whether it's intellectual, music, fun, money, fighting, we're good.
Just got his bases covered. So basically, we have set up a situation here where Ryan has a name with a rich history that dates back far in the past, but not a lot of good options. Now, the other hand, we have Joe with way too many options. So Joe has a much bigger opportunity to completely screw this up.
100%.
Or knock it out of the park. But he's already missed Snowden and Scissorhands, so I feel like I'm in a good spot already.
But you don't know who else I have.
Well, surprise, Ryan's got Jacob Scissorhands, his brother, so he's in good shape.
The sequel.
All right, Ryan, I want you to bat lead off, and I want you to give me the first member of Team Jacob.
I feel like I need to get this one, just get it out of the way, because everybody knows it's going to be on here. He's undeniable. The talent is incredible. And he just continues to get better with age. And that is Mr. Jake Gyllenhaal himself. I don't think he's made any media that I do not enjoy. I am actually a very big Jake Gyllenhaal fan. He's good looking. He is talented. He's not involved in any scandals. He has a decent amount of money, but you never hear, like, I just feel like he is a consummate professional. He shows up, he brings the talent, brings his A game every time, and I want him on my team.
Now, this is a very good place to start because you know your moderator clearly, because I am a big Jake Gyllenhaal fan. Now, Nightcrawler, classic, one of the best films that has been made in the last like decade. We've got Donnie Darko.
Love that
Classic,
movie.
bizarre.
Still don't know if I truly
So
understand
what?
what happens.
He was in Prisoners. Great movie.
He was in the new Spider-Man movie.
I also think, okay, this is a bit of a deep cut, but I need you to go with me. October Sky is a
October Sky is great.
fantastic movie, and I think he's like 19 or maybe younger in this
Supreme
movie.
talent.
It is a great representation of Appalachia and also about overcoming the poverty in that area. It is a wonderful story, and he plays it well. And I just think every year he just gets better. And I don't think you can deny that Jake Gyllenhaal is, on the first ballot, Team Jake.
I think that's good. Now, one question I'll probably ask on several of these people is, what is the most important thing he's going to bring to your team?
I think as I said when I was introducing, I think the most important thing that he's going to bring is his professionalism. You always hear stories of how hard he works and how he's always, treating everyone with respect. And I feel like you got to have that guy on your team, no matter what the team is doing.
I think that's good. Okay. Now, Joe, we're going to shift focus here and go to Team Edward. Who is your first pick for your team?
We don't have any direction on this, so I thought, who would my host choose? So my first number one overall pick is Mr. Latino Heat himself, Eddie Guerrero.
My man.
From WWE, he's a wrestler. He's a champion, also fought in WCW, and he would lie, cheat, and steal to get whatever he needed, whether that be a mamacita or the WWE World Championship. Eddie Guerrero is my number one pick.
This is a great pick because obviously,
Never
just like
heard
the
of
Jake
this man.
Gyllenhaal pick, this speaks right to my sensibilities. Eddie Guerrero is going to be... Now, if you need a man who's going to win at all costs, Eddie Guerrero is the perfect person to have on your team. So I like that pick. What would you say is the most important asset that he's going to bring to your team, Joe?
I think his tenacity. I mean, he's willing to fight, bleed, do whatever he needs to do to accomplish his goal. I mean, the man passed out in the middle of the match because he was fighting so hard. So to me, his tenacity and his willing to go after what he wants and sacrifice his body, and just he has what's the word I'm looking for? Like a
Je ne sais quoi?
drive. No, I think drive is the word I was looking for there. But thank you for the opportunity to use that word again. But he has a drive that never quits. The man just goes.
I like that. That's very good. And I feel like that both very strong starts. Very proud of you all for coming out of the gate firing. And so how are you going to respond to the Eddie Guerrero pick, Ryan? Who's your next Jacob in this matchup?
All right.
Ryan, for our listeners, Ryan has a big smile on his face. So I'm very concerned about whatever is about to be said.
No, listen, it's a good pick. Jacob Marley.
Okay.
Now listen,
right.
I know what you're thinking. A fictional character from a Charles Dickens novel who is also dead.
Yep.
The thing about Jacob Marley is he's got an intimidation factor, and he also is doomed to wander the earth eternally. Now, I feel like anybody who can wander the earth eternally on your team is going to be valuable at some point. He's got those chains and sometimes, large chests, depending on which version you're watching. And, the really weird thing wrapped around his head. But listen, I think Jacob Marley is going to be super valuable. And I feel like having someone who is that able to fill someone with that amount of existential dread is going to pay dividends.
I really didn't know if you were going to say existential. I thought you were just going to say eggs, and I was like, I mean, that's cool.
Yeah.
I love eggs.
Now, I love this pick because this one didn't even cross my radar. Like, quite honestly, when I was thinking of famous Jacobs that could be on Team Jacob Marley did not even register in my thought process. And I do feel that having someone who is doomed to wander the earth eternally could be very useful in whatever this scenario is that we've cooked up. And I also think it's a great start to having Jake Gyllenhaal star as Ebenezer Scrooge in A New Christmas Carol, because that sounds awesome.
Now, listen, that is the start of a good cast right there. I don't know who you get to play Jacob Marley. I mean, ideally,
Jacob
Heath Ledger,
Marley, I guess.
Rest his soul. Yeah. We just get the Jacob.
Just get the Jacob Marley.
Well, he's still alive. He can't be doing anything else.
That's true. Eternally damned.
So, as I've asked before, what is he bringing to you? What's the most important thing he's going to bring to your team?
Like I said, I think the ability to wander the earth eternally cannot be
That
overstated.
can't be discounted. Yep.
And then his ability to impart existential dread and to make someone change their ways in one night. He's my MVP.
Plus, he probably doesn't have a lot of other stuff going on.
That's true. He's available.
He literally has all the time in the world.
All right. Well, I love that pick. So, Joe, I don't know how you're going to counter that one because that one truly came out of left field. So who do you got that can match up with Jacob Marley?
My number 2 pick is Mr. Edward Murphy.
Do you mean Eddie Murphy?
I think that's a perfect. Yeah, Eddie Murphy. Well, I think his legal name is probably Edward, but Eddie
You
Murphy
said probably.
is my,
You didn't even look it up.
no, and that's probably not his legal name either. It's probably the surname because he's an actor.
To Google, it's Edward Reagan Murphy.
See, I was
Born
right.
April 3rd, 1961.
I think Eddie Murphy's overall body of work gives him the ability to be a jack of all trades when it comes to the team. Not only is he a comedic genius, so he's going to be able to rally the team, lift their spirits, give them what they need in a time where they may be in a little despair or a little downtrodden. He's going to come in with a joke, come in with a one-liner, and zing, zing, zong, get them all up, happy, ready to go. But the training he's picked up from all these movies he's been in, Beverly Hills Cop, I Spy, he's going to have weapon proficiency. He's going to be able to fight. He's in Bowfinger, so he's going to be able to tell a story. Trading Places, he's able to blend in. And
Dolomite is my name.
Yeah, he's going to be able to go in an area where that's not his normal routine and be there. And it's like, act like you've been there before. He's got it. He's done it.
Okay. I like this pick. My main question based on the folks we have in this matchup so far is, can Jacob Marley change his ways and start making him make good movies again? I'm hoping Coming to America 2 is going to be the one, but
I do think that one's going to be really good.
Are they really going to have Arsenio Hall in that movie?
they are. He is a treasure.
Is he?
He is.
Not so sure.
He is. He's on my team Arsenio.
Team
Team of one.
Anyways, I think we've got a good start here. So we're at the halfway point of our matchup. I think we should take a little break, go to the moderator's office, and then when we come back, I want you to give me your final two picks for your team and tell me how they're all going to come together to win whatever this matchup is. So everybody join us in the mod office, and then we'll be right back to this debate.
Just want to take a quick moment to remind you all to go ahead and find us on iTunes, Spotify, whatever. Give us a rate and review of 5 stars. Give us a nice little comment about why you love the show. And make sure while you're there, you go ahead and hit the subscribe button. That way the new episodes are delivered to you every Thursday morning. Boom, ready for you to go on your commute to work, your first break, whatever it may be. It's already downloaded and ready for you. Also, we're taking this opportunity to say if you have anyone that may be looking for advertisement in any way, we are more than happy to talk with them and see if we can work something out. Feel free to message us at our email address, tmiwpod@gmail.com, or you can send us a DM through Instagram, Twitter, whatever you have. We're on all of them. We'll be more than happy to see what we can do and help you out. And just the last thing I'd like to say is take this opportunity to tell a friend about the show. I mean, you may have a friend named Edward or a friend named Jacob, and they may say, hey, I'd love to be on that team. Tell them about it. Let them know. If you had a great experience after having a sexy board game time last week, tell your friend, hey, I listened to this podcast. It gave me a great idea, and it turned out to really work out for me, if you know what I mean. Tell them about it. That way, maybe next year, they'll have a fun Valentine's Day night. So tell a friend. That's the best thing you can do to help us. Let's get back to this debate that neither one of us know how to win, and see what happens.
Okay, we are back here in the main office, and I am ready to hear your final two picks for Team Edward and Team Jacob. So, Ryan, I want to go back to you. You have Jake Gyllenhaal. You have Jacob Marley. Who was your third pick on Team Jacob?
All right. So, as I said, there are just not that many significant Jacobs. I did find one who, I had to stretch the rules a little bit because he's actually known as James the Fourth, but he was born Jacob and became king. And so, as you know, when you become king, you are given, you're given a different name. And so the most historically significant Jacob outside of the Bible was James the Fourth, who was the king of Scotland starting in 1488 until he died in battle. And he is actually the last monarch of Great Britain to be killed in battle. So I feel like anytime you can have a king on your team, you got to have a king. Now, I know that Joe had some Edward options that were kings, but this dude fought in battle in Scotland as a king. And I don't feel like there's anything more badass than a king on a horse fighting for his country.
Seems to be a lot of death on your team.
Listen, you got to respect death.
Now, this is someone I'm not terribly familiar with.
I don't think anyone is, but when I looked at like popularity of Jacob, like historical significant Jacobs, he was literally the number one on every list.
So you felt you had no choice but to have him on your team.
I just felt like, as a person who respects history and its importance in our time, that I needed to make sure that I recognized this man who was born Jacob, then became James Stuart, King of Scotland, was important to my Team Jacob.
Now, is this purely a seniority pick? Did he just get on the team because he was popular?
Well, he became king in 1488 and, lived, in the 13th century. 15th century. So I feel like anybody who had any form of significant power in the 15th century is significant because it was such a terrible time to be alive. Like, there were so many wars. Everything was dirty all the time. It lived in Scotland where
you didn't have the films of Jake Gyllenhaal.
Exactly. They didn't have Jake Gyllenhaal to lighten their spirits. So anybody who lived during that time and lived successfully, I feel like is going to be able to kick ass in 2021.
Okay. You're bringing me around. This was definitely out of the box, but
listen, if I know anything about my moderator, and that moderator is Josh Ballard, that is, he loves out of the box thought. He does off the beaten track pick, and that is the route that I am trying to take.
That you are playing right into my hands, and I appreciate it, sir. So, Joe, how are you going to match up with royalty? Tell me what you got on Team Edward.
I'm going to add rock royalty to that, and I'm going Eddie Van Halen.
Oh, R.I.P.
R.I.P. I brought some, I had to get some death on my team to match Ryan. I mean, he can't have all the dead people.
So far, I only have one dead person. The other one is eternal.
I think he died to get there, right?
But not all dead people are cursed eternally.
Okay. So I went with Eddie Van Halen. He's the lead guitarist for the band Van Halen.
Of course.
And I think it's safe to say he's one of the greatest guitar players of all time.
Oh,
that
absolutely.
Is safe to say. Yes.
I mean, he had some the most ridiculous. Oh, that's not a word. Ridiculous.
That was almost the title of this podcast. Ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's a verb.
Guitar solos, riffs, whatever you had, whatever you want to call it. I mean, his is just legendary. Like Hot for Teacher.
Eruption.
What's the Van Halen song that starts out with just a super long guitar? Is it You Really Got Me? Girl, you really got me now. That's Van Halen.
Sure.
But I think Eddie Van Halen, not only is he going to be just an awesome guitarist that plays some music for us in some downtime, but I think if we're whatever we're doing, if we're hanging out somewhere, we're camping, we have some time, that dude has some stories to tell about traveling with David Lee Roth and Van Halen in the 70s and 80s, and just that was the peak of rock and roll debauchery, and they were in the middle of it, especially with David Lee Roth. So not only is he going to provide just some awesome music and just I mean, he is a manly man, I feel like, with that, and just the stories they'll be able to tell will just be awesome.
And don't underestimate the amount of value that having someone who can absolutely shred a guitar gives you in this matchup.
If they have problems with hearing or can't take music and he just strums that guitar, they're down. There's nothing they can do to fight it.
Plus, he would absolutely blow Jacob Marley and Jake the Fourth's minds.
Yeah, they would have to just sit down and be like, "Oh my god!" And I'm sure Jake Gyllenhaal seems like the classic rock fan. So I feel like if Eddie Van Halen walked out, picked up a guitar and his pick and just started shredding, Jake Gyllenhaal would have to sit down and be like, "Okay, respect." You
know who would not stand for any of Eddie Van Halen's debauchery, and that is Jacob Stewart, King of Scotland.
All right, well, we've got rock royalty, we've got actual royalty, and so Ryan has one more position to fill on Team Jacob, so let us have it. Who captured that last spot?
Okay, so once again, I need to highlight the fact that I went very esoteric.
Okay.
I think everybody knows the name that I'm gonna have here, and everybody is going to have this name stuck in their head for probably the next week after they listen to this episode. And so I'm going to introduce my last character with a little bit of a song, if you'll indulge me.
A song. In case anybody didn't know, Ryan can sing.
John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. His name is my name too. Whenever we go out, the people always shout, "There goes John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt." Na 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 na. Okay, so
good choice.
This is a man who does not exist. Did not exist. It is just a name, and I think having something on the team that is just the idea of a person that exists everywhere and that has his own theme song is going to be something that is very powerful and might even become a sort of mascot for Team Jacob.
I like that pick. I did not cross my mind as well. And I do think, you didn't have anybody who had their own theme song yet. Joe did because he had Eddie Guerrero on his team, who obviously had his own theme song when he came to the ring.
Who cares about that?
I think our judge does.
And so I think having someone like John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt is going to be a great pick. I do like the dynamic that you have where you have a couple people in Jacob Marley and John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt who are just kind of around. They're just kind of in the air, just inhabiting the space. And I don't know how that would exactly play out in the scenario that we've created, like how that would help the team. But it's at the very least imposing and really gets in your head. Like, where are they?
See, now, the reason that I went in such a, off the beaten path direction is because there are no rules. And so you got to have people who are adaptable. And what's more adaptable than the idea of a man who, and wherever you go out, the people will always shout, "There goes John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt."
You did make a point that part of the reason you picked him is that he's just kind of around and he's in the air and you don't know what's going on. But if everybody's shouting his name when he shows up, is he going to be able to successfully sneak up on anybody? Or is this like a distraction tactic?
I don't think this is a sneaking team. When you've got Jacob Marley shaking his chains, and you've got the King of Scotland on his horse, and you got the attractive Jake Gyllenhaal, I don't think you're sneaking up on anybody, but you're also, everybody's going to be a little scared.
I like this. Ryan really thought through this and how he could get right to my heart, and I appreciate it.
You say that's going to be stuck in my head for a week, but I've literally been singing that song now for about the past 6 months because it's on every children's TV show out there. So John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt is a regular in this household, unfortunately.
Well, get ready for that, Ryan.
Yeah.
Looks like it made its roots in the vaudeville acts of the late 19th century.
Those songs are all going to make a comeback for you, and they never die.
All right, Joe. We have Team Jacob. Now we need to complete Team Edward. Who do you have?
I think my last pick it's a heart pick. It's going to give the team heart. It's going to give the team soul. And when it needs it to, it's going to pick the team up and give them that rah-rah speech, that motivation. I'm going with Coach O, go Tigers. Ed Ogeron for the LSU Tigers.
He's back. He is back, everybody. Coach O.
Yes, Coach O is here, and he's here to stay. I think he had a down year this year, but you know what? Everyone had a down year this year. We're all Kentucky basketball fans.
That's true.
And, we
That's
really
true.
can't say much about the LSU Tigers' struggles last year because I think we're worse than they are.
Yes.
But I do think Coach O has a good heart, and I do think he gets the best out of his players when he wants to go. He goes up to him and says, hey, I'm Coach O, go Tigers. We're going to win this football game tonight. We're going to go home and celebrate with some etouffee and some jambalaya.
To Bayou. I'm not going to lie. I am a huge Ed Orgeron fan.
Oh, yeah.
Anytime
He's
he
awesome.
speaks, I try to listen because it is always gold.
Yeah, I'm Coach O, go Tigers.
Now, one concern that I would have with this team is Coach O really strikes me as the type that's going to be very distracted by Eddie Van Halen's presence. If I had to take a guess, that man loves some Van Halen.
I don't, Coach O, this is Coach O here, go Tigers. I do love Van Halen, but when it comes time to compete, comes time to win on the winning time, I'm there and I'm ready to get motivated. I will get my team to that finish line and I will push them over the edge to win that battle.
That's a pretty good counter, actually. Not that I'm making his point for him, but that was a good counter because he is all about game time.
Now, Joe, one thing that I am seeing as a glaring difference between the two teams we have here is that Ryan has no champions on his team, but Joe has two, and Eddie Guerrero, former WWE World Heavyweight Champion.
Mr. Latino Heat, Coach O, I'm a big fan of Eddie Guerrero as well.
As well as Coach O, who is a national champion in football, thanks to Joe Burrow largely, and a good defense. But he is also a great coach. And so that championship mentality is really going to be useful in our matchup here. So I really appreciate that pick.
I'm here to make sure my team is ready, prepared, and ready to go and fight and battle. Whatever that battle may be.
Now, there's one important question that I do need both of you all to answer before I kind of start to break this down and really make my pick.
No, you cannot go to the movie theaters with me and my wife.
That was not the question. The question is, who is your team captain? You have to have someone who's going to be coordinating the action, who's going to be leading the team out into the field, who's going to be taking charge in whatever the scenario is that we've dreamed of that they're competing in. And so I need to know who you're picking to be that leader. So Ryan, is it going to be your king? Is it going to be the figment of your imagination? Is it going to be Jake Gyllenhaal, noted actor? Who you got?
I feel like I have a couple of different directions that I could go, as Josh mentioned. I've got Jake Gyllenhaal, the emotional leader of the team. I've got Jacob Stewart, the strategic leader, known king and successful battleman, Jacob Stewart, the King of Scotland. But I think the team captain has to be John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, because in those early days, in the days of Jacob, or maybe even his descendant Joshua, in the battles that they would wage, there were always drummers at the front, and they would lead the battle through their song. And in any situation, I think John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt out in front leading this team is going to lead them to victory.
That was a very fascinating pick and not where I thought you would go. So I appreciate the thought you put into that. Joe, who's your team captain?
Well, I think that answer's pretty easy. I'm going with Coach O. Coach O, go Tigers. He's here to rally his team. Eddie Guerrero, he's our fighter. He's going to go out. He's ready to take that 1-2 punch, and he's going to do whatever it takes to win. Whether he needs to lie, cheat, and steal. Eddie Murphy, he's the morale builder of our team. Come on now. He's funny. He makes me laugh. I like that. But when it's time, I know what I need to say to turn him on and get him going. Eddie Van Halen, he's the best guitarist of all time. I think that says itself, but he's a fighter, too. And boy, he could tell me a good story about about some times when he had with that David Lee Roth character. It's hilarious. But I think when it comes down to it, it's all me and this team to get them going, get them motivated, and get them running. Go Tigers. Go Tigers, Coach O.
Thank you, Coach O. I appreciate the breakdown. So,
all right, before we get to the decision, I just have to say I do not envy Josh's position right now because this might be the hardest debate to decide that we have ever had for a lot of different reasons.
Right answer.
Now, I will say, approaching this, I come in with a lot of, I'm honored that I've been given this opportunity to pick this one because I really feel that I have been given the gift of discernment and that I'm good at figuring things out. So I've really been parsing through kind of how I think this would go in this challenge. And so I personally, while this is an intimidating step, am ready to make my decision and I'm confident in it.
Oh, wow.
So in looking at the teams, we've got two very different squads. We've got Team Jacob. And I feel like Ryan has really put in a lot of thought into how the pieces are going to fit together and kind of what they would bring to the table in a bunch of different circumstances. You do have an entertainer in Jake Gyllenhaal. You do have a leader in the King. You have John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, who is a complete wild card in this whatever this is. And then you have Jacob Marley, who is perhaps my favorite pick of any because just being able to give existential dread to people is useful in all circumstances. It can really shut somebody down. And I'm saying that coming from someone who lives constantly with existential dread. However, on the flip side, Joe's Team Edward is very interesting. It's filled with entertainers and led by Coach O. And the question I have is it feels less like Joe picked this team and more like Coach O just picked his favorite golf foursome or who he'd want to have dinner with. I really feel like Joe channeled Ed Orgeron and kind of picked, I'd imagine he's a big WWE fan. He loves the comedy of Eddie Murphy and he absolutely jams some Van Halen on the stereo. However, does that mean that they are the best team to be in this challenge? Whatever it is that we are competing in? And so, with that said, and taking all of this into consideration, there was only one team that I really thought had the diverse skill set to compete, and that is Team Jacob. Ryan, congratulations.
I'm on a hot streak, baby. Yeah.
Now, look, this wasn't easy, like I said, but here's what it really came down to. As I mentioned, Joe's team feels very much like it was curated specifically by Coach O. And so I think Coach O, in inhabiting Joe's body, possibly thanks to Jacob Marley,
existential dread,
only picked the people that he wants to hang out with. And so if we get into a situation where you have to have a variety of skill sets, he's just there for the entertainment, baby. You know what I mean?
You don't think Eddie Guerrero, Eddie Murphy, and Eddie Van Halen would give you a variety of skill sets?
They do give you a variety of skill sets, but they're much more one-dimensional.
You gotta think about the comparison here.
What skill set does John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt give?
He's everywhere, and everybody knows him.
Is he?
He's omnipresent.
Is he? Because I've seen videos where he's just walking around dancing, singing his song. So I really want you to answer that question, Ryan and Josh. Answer that question. What skill set does John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt give the team?
At any one moment, think about the number of people who are saying the name John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt and the power that brings to this entity that exists just because his name exists.
And the fact that you brought up these videos that you watch really just tells me more about Coach O inhabiting your body. The fact that you went and watched film about these teams to try to learn more about them.
I don't know that I would call what the children's shows my daughter watches as watching film.
They're on film.
You were strategizing.
I still want you. It's fine that you picked him, but I still, when you say the skill set they have, I want you to give me the skill set that John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt gives.
He marches. He is well known. He is well connected. If everybody's saying his name, everybody in town knows him. That's going to be a useful skill when it comes down.
Right.
To
and
it.
Eddie Van Halen, Eddie Murphy, Eddie Guerrero, and Eddie Orgeron. No one knows those guys.
Eddie Guerrero and Ed Orgeron are not that well known. I will say. I did not know who Eddie Guerrero was until this episode.
I think more people would know them than John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
I bet if you had Eddie Murphy and you had John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt, John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt has a higher name ID. Everybody knows his name.
Josh, do you want to go ahead and think about what you just said? Eddie Murphy and John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt.
It's about broad appeal.
That's fine.
There's an entire generation. There's an entire generation of people who have not seen a good Eddie.
Set is what would give him the win. When you can't even give me what a skill set he has is, period, proves how asinine that decision was. And I'm beginning to think there's just a straight up conspiracy with you all.
It's not. Listen, this is not a conspiracy. I have assembled. I have assembled an ethereal, powerful Team Jacob, and you are just mad because you lost and you did not choose the right direction to go, and you did not pander to the judge like I did when I went with the out of the box decisions that I did.
That's fine. That's cool.
It was not an easy decision.
Listen,
and
you don't have to explain
anymore.
You don't have to explain anymore. It was a stupid decision on your part that you can't even back up with any kind of qualitative data. I asked for one answer, and you can't.
There's
give
not
that
qualitative
one answer.
data. We didn't talk. There's no real thing.
I asked you. You said he won because of skill set. I said give me one skill set, and you can't do it. Having a theme song is not a skill set. Having a theme song is not a skill set. I said give me John Jacob Jingleheimer's skill set that you said he possessed. And you can't do it. So therefore, it's a stupid answer.
And Joe is really defending this.
I disagree. Look,
well, of course you disagree because you picked it. That's how dumb it is.
I realize this is a sore subject, and I'm glad that this inspired a heated debate because it is an important conversation we had here today on the podcast. And so I appreciate you all indulging me and doing this topic. And I just thank you for being so game. So Ryan, can you please take us out of here before Joe strangles me?
All right, that is going to do it for us this week. I want to thank everybody for listening. We really appreciate all the support that you guys show us. I also want to thank Isle of 8 for the use of our theme song, Gene Jacket
Jingleheimer Schmidt.
That's the next version. I think Joe's too mad to even do his announcements.
If you haven't, go ahead and find us on all social medias. We're on Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. I don't know. We may have a TikTok. I don't know. Go ahead and find us on all of them at TMIW Pod. You can also reach us on, find us on iTunes, Spotify, anything like that. Just search Tell Me I'm Wrong. While you're there searching for the podcast, make sure you subscribe, rate, and review. Give us that 5 stars. Helps us to get our podcast out in front of more people. And speaking of getting out in front of more people, tell a friend. Tell a friend that has a skill set that actually exists and not one that's made up and you pander some stupid reason to give the victory to that doesn't make any sense. But tell a friend that has a skill set about Tell Me I'm Wrong.
And while you're online, head over to tmiwpod.com. Over there, you will find all sorts of great information about us, about how you can buy our merch, about how you can listen to episodes, anything you need that is TMIW related, you can find there. And we also just launched a brand new feature. I call it RMDB. It is the Ryan Movie Database. If you go on there, you can see a comprehensive list of every movie Ryan has ever seen in a movie theater and made out during. It is startling. So head over there and you can check that out right now.
As always, there is one winner, but we're all losers. Later, losers.
See ya.
John Jacob Jingleheimer Schmidt. Go tag us.